Boom, I'm in the room. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Everyday Conversations regarding mental health. Because there's nothing on the telly, that's why you're here. And I'm coming to you live from the old Heale Manor. So I can see I've got somebody already in. Evening, Nigel. How you doing, mate? Long time no see. So tonight is a bit of an update. So, you know, I do the live stream awesome quiz every Tuesday. That's going well. The Duchess, she compiles the old quizzes and then helps us to deliver them. We have a real laugh. But this show is all about mental well-being, mental health, taking the stigma out of mental health, mental well-being. And what we're trying to do is promote people to talk about it. We've covered lots of different subjects. Last week we were looking at trafficking, and the guest I had on last week almost rendered me speechless. She had a terrible story, but she turned it around, had a positive at the end of it, which is really good. We've covered addictions, we've covered all sorts of things, suicide, but tonight we're going to get an update on bereavement. So my guest you've seen before, we've had her on a few times over the last year, and my old mate Harry, unfortunately almost a year ago now, fell off the roof, and it wasn't the fall, it was the stop at the bottom that done for him. Anyway, without too much further ado, let's bring on Catherine. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, Tim.
How you doing?
Yes, all right, I think. You know, all things considering. Yeah, I don't... Looking back, it just doesn't seem like it's a year ago. Time passes so quickly, doesn't it? I mean,
It
we were
does.
talking about this yesterday and how quickly... I would have thought it would have seemed to have dragged. But looking back, it doesn't seem a year. It's just gone so quickly.
It
I mean,
does flash
probably
by
the
a bit
first...
quick.
Yeah, well, probably the first bit of it, I was all in a daze and didn't know where I was. But I mean, the rest of the year just flies by, you
Yeah,
know. And obviously, as everybody said to me, oh, the first year's the worst because you have the first of everything, you know, don't you? So,
yeah,
yeah, it was our first Christmas and everything, and the birthdays. In fact, my sister-in-law said to me yesterday it was her birthday. Oh, it's going to be strange tomorrow. I'm gonna miss my call and visit from Stephen, because he had this thing. It was your birthday. You probably got the call as well. It would be the happy birthday song that he'd sing or leave a message on your answer phone.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's sometimes even now when the phone goes, I pick it up and think, oh, it's Stephen, because it's just, you know, like when he used to phone,
yeah.
it's just habit, isn't it? So it's all those things you have to get out of, like making the extra cup of coffee. I've done that a few times. And actually, once, I suppose it's because it's coming up to a year and he's on my mind an awful lot at the moment. I wanted something and I called out to him in the kitchen the other day, and that's the first and only time I've ever done that. But I suppose because I'm thinking of him a lot,
Yeah,
for that briefest instant, I just forgot.
yeah. So, say Keith said hi. So
Hi,
Nigel's
Keith.
there. Nigel said hi as well. So if you
Hello.
wanna then bring us up to date, tell us what's happened over the last year from when Harry sort of met his demise, and how you've progressed through what's happened with the therapy and stuff that you went through, and how that's helped, and how the rest of the family have been coping.
Well, do you know what? Counselling, I only had to do it for 10 weeks, but I got that counselling right at the very beginning, literally maybe a month or 6 weeks after. And I think that's had a lot to do with how I've coped, because what she did was she explained to me various coping mechanisms. So different things to do or change to make life a little bit easier. So in November, Stephanie had a 40th birthday party, and that probably was the first big thing after it happened in July, and with all the family and everything as well, where he wasn't going to be there. Well, we had some friends coming over who stops in a hotel. So I said to him, do you know what? I'm going to come and stop at the hotel with you, because that was my way of coping. Because if I'd have left the house without him, I would have felt that I was going without him. But by going from the hotel, although I was without him, it didn't feel quite as bad as going from the house. And there's various things like that I've done to cope with things. I mean, I'm lucky my support network has been amazing. My friends, my family, the wider family, not just my immediate family, even my poacher family. I just can't tell you. I still get texts and things from people saying, how are you? How are you doing? And everybody said, oh yeah, you always get that at the beginning, but after a few weeks it will stop. Well, a year down the line, it hasn't stopped and people are still doing it. And that means an awful lot. I mean, one of the things we had tickets for the Poachers Ball, which was in June, just a few weeks ago. And Stephen always booked them. Literally, as soon as the tickets come out, we had to go. And Dave Gardner, after it had happened, said, oh, don't worry, I'll refund the money. I went, no, don't do that, Dave, leave it, because we would like to come. We would like to come for Stephen. And obviously that was a bit of an emotional day, because Mary Coleman, bless her, had done a photograph for me, and a little act of kindness. Probably didn't realise just how much that meant, but it did. What we weren't prepared for, when they put the photos up on the screen of Poachers, remembered the people that we've lost over the last year, and unfortunately it was a lot. When Stephen's photograph come up, everybody cheered and clapped, and we really wasn't expecting that. So I don't think my eye on the table. But in spite of the fact we were actually without him, do you know what? We did okay. Everybody had a little moment. Stephen's brother had to leave for a little while, and then Stephanie had to leave for a little while. But they came back, they pulled themselves together. And, Stephen was all about having fun. Like the day after it happened, it was Anne's birthday, and they had tickets to go away for the weekend. I said, don't do that. He wouldn't want you to do that, because he was all about having fun and enjoying life. And he actually would have been really upset if he'd have thought that they'd have cancelled it, especially it was for something special. And that's pretty much what we've tried to do for the whole of the year. We've gone and done things. Our heart might not have been in it at the beginning, but as the years gone on, we have coped with things better. We do all talk about it, and quite often we're having a laugh with different memories and things, especially as they come up on Facebook and it reminds you of different things. And I think that's the important thing, to talk about it. I mean, for me, the counselling at the beginning was a very positive thing. I can't speak for everybody. I would say give it a go, and if you don't like it, then don't carry on doing it, or try a different counsellor. But I certainly think it's worth giving it a go. I sort of threw myself into decorating the house after it happened. Probably not the best idea, because we had builders in and plastering done, but it was my way of keeping myself busy. But we found it's amazing how self-sufficient we've become, how things that Stephen normally did, not me, I'm useless, but the girls have done things. I mean, this unit that's behind me, bless them, I don't know if you can see that, one of the IKEA specials, they built all that, which I was really proud of them. And another one over there, Stephanie the other day was taking the thing off under the sink because it was blocked, I don't know, the U-bend or whatever they call it, and she unblocked the sink. Well, Charlotte's done so many things, I can't tell you. Stephen will probably be going, why didn't you do all this for me when I was here? but of course we didn't. But yeah, they've become quite self-sufficient. It's amazing what they can do, actually. Um, yeah, there's bit so as I say, it's coming up to the anniversary, and it would have been our anniversary on the 15th, and so this year we were going to have a party because Stephen regretted not having a party for our 40th. So we said, well, we'll have one for 45. I said, I don't think that's a thing, 45. We said, well, we'll make it our thing. So obviously that's not going to happen. But the good thing about that day is my niece is having a garden party that afternoon. So I'm not going to be sitting at home moping, thinking, oh, it would have been our anniversary and we'd have been doing this and that. I will be going out, and we'll make sure we enjoy ourselves. And we're actually quite looking forward to that. And then obviously there's the anniversary of when it happened. And then normally Stephen and I would be on holiday that week, and we normally take the grandson away on holiday. Well, at first I wasn't going to book a holiday because I didn't feel like I could do it on my own. And then Charlotte said she'd come with me, so we're taking both grandsons to the Isle of Wight for a week, just on a caravan park. So it's very easy to want to put your life on hold and not do anything, which would be fine if it was only me, but obviously there's the rest of the family and it affects everybody else. I think the girls, each of them, it was quite traumatic, and I think the girls each, have obviously suffered with things over the year, but seem to have got through things, and they would probably benefit from counselling. I mean, it's all well and good talking to your family, but there may be things you would say to somebody external or you're not quite so close to that you wouldn't say to somebody you're close to, because you wouldn't want to worry them or you wouldn't want to upset them. But all said and done, and I think it's because of the amazing network we have and their friends as well. And as a family, even with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, it's quite a tight-knit group. Even my nephews, they've all been absolutely amazing. So it's probably been a lot easier for me with the family network we have and the friends than it could have been for a lot of other people. And I feel for those people. I have a friend who hasn't got her husband unfortunately died just before we went into lockdown, and that was terrible. I can't imagine losing Stephen and then going into lockdown and then not being able to see my family. I mean, it was hard enough, well, we all went through it, wasn't it, at the time, all sort of locked up together, but without being on your own, I can't imagine. It must have been absolutely awful. But I think if Stephen could see how we've coped with it, I think he'd be really pleased about that, and I think he'd be immensely proud of the girls and what they've done. He will be. I know he would. But yeah, that's pretty much how our year's been, really. And as I say, we're getting to the end of the first year. Yeah, and as you look back, it's actually gone so much quicker than I think it would. Don't get me wrong, the birthdays, the Father's Days, we've all had our moments over those, but it wouldn't be natural if we didn't. But we sort of pick ourselves up and dust ourselves down, and life does have to go on, and that's sort of how it is, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
pretty
it
much my
is.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you've done it incredibly well. I mean, it's it's really really difficult losing somebody, and just realizing that they're never going to be there again, and life just goes on. And I went through exactly the same when I lost Sandra. That first year, you're in a bit of a daze most of the time anyway. And all the firsts that come along, it's just remembering and making it special. And the second year, you're used to what's happened. You're then you've gone through the first, the seconds are coming up, and they tend to get just a little tiny bit easier. And with each year that does pass, it does get slightly easier. And that's all I can say really, is the loss of somebody, you never really get over them. They're always there in your heart, and they're there in your thoughts as well a lot of the time. And as time goes on, it kind of fades away slightly. And then when the anniversaries come up, that's when you remember them and the good times and all the rest of it. So the first year you've almost cracked, you're nearly there, and the positive stuff that you and the family have been doing has been tremendous. And I just can thank you for coming on and sharing your story, because I think going through it in real time is really important, especially for people that watch this show, and they can take something from it, because seeing that you have been so positive about going through it will help other people.
Well, Stephen, if I can't, he would just be so annoyed if he thought we was all just sitting here wallowing in our own misery, and he really, really wouldn't want that. So all the way through, we've sort of tried to do what we think he would have approved of or liked us, to be doing. But, he was all about living and having fun. And so, hopefully we've done things throughout the year. It's been strange going to places without him, especially when there's always been the two of us. That's a bit weird. But again, I've had the support of my family everywhere. The girls have been amazing. It could not have been any easier for me. They could not have made things any easier for me than they have done. And not everybody has that. But there's always someone there if you reach out. Even if you've just a random post on Facebook, someone will always come back to you with something positive. And I sort of took on board what you were saying. If someone reaches out to you, make sure you've got time for them. Don't okay. And so, I did take that on board, because I have done that myself with people. You sort of try and help other people along the way as well, don't you? And actually in doing that, it does help you as well. It definitely does. Plus you're talking to people who have been through it and who understand exactly, what you're going through.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things, is that you can actually empathise with people that are newly bereaved, and you can empathise with them, and you can give them some of your advice that what you've been through, what's helped you, and hopefully it will help them.
Yeah.
And that's what we try and do with this show, is with all the different subjects that we cover, hopefully it will help somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'd say to anybody. I know people go, well, counselling's not for me, but you wouldn't know unless you tried it. And maybe sometimes if it doesn't work out, maybe the counsellor's not right for you. Not the counselling, but the actual counsellor. And as you said yourself, especially with, people who have been in the military, completely different kettle of fish than a civic counsellor, because they're not going to understand what you guys went through. So it's quite important to get the right counsellor. And as I say, they gave me the tools at the beginning, coping tools they gave me at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yourself, you go through everything, don't you? Anger,
there's a whole raft of emotions.
Yeah. And then at the end, you sort of get to acceptance, and you have to go through all of those things. And that doesn't mean to say once you've gone through it once, you're not going to go back and feel that way again, because you will. But it's all those things you have to go through, but you just need to know that and accept it.
That's it.
But I think, I know you've talked a lot about the counselling and the military, and I personally would just encourage anybody to try it, but as you say, with the right people.
Yeah.
People who understand.
Because I had a wobble, it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago now. I not long after I'd left, and I knew there was something not right in myself. So I went to the doctor. He referred us on to some counselling. So I think I had about 4 or 5 sessions with a couple of different counsellors. But because they were civvies, they didn't realise, or they didn't understand my problem, what I've been through and what I'd seen. They were good, but they didn't understand. And it wasn't until I had a chat, in fact, I had a chat with Harry on one of our long conversations on almost a daily basis or every other day basis. And he helped us put it back in the box and square it away, which was good. But it does come down to the right type of counsellor, and a counsellor that you can get on with. I mean, most counsellors have a full tool chest that they can use, but if they don't understand what you're actually going through, then it's difficult for them to be able to help. And that's the problem that I had. In fact, the story I told that went out on national news, actually. I said about a little wobble and one thing and another, and there was about a 2-minute clip on the national news in the evening. A little while later, a guy up in the Midlands, a veteran that was really suffering with really bad PTSD, contacted me and said, did I know anybody to help? I put him in touch with a mate of mine up in the Midlands that started off the process helping him from the RBL. He was a volunteer for them. Unfortunately, this guy's problems were a little bit beyond what he could provide. My mate contacted me, did I know anybody else? I put him in touch with another group down here called Forgotten Veterans UK. They contacted him, convinced him to leave his house. He hadn't left his flat for 2 years. Convinced him to leave his house, get on a coach by himself, come all the way down to Portsmouth and spend the weekend with these guys, and they were able to help him, and I think they've still been helping him since. So there's a positive story, and that Forgotten Veterans is peer-led. So it's guys that have gone through the mill themselves, and they were able to help.
Well, that's good. I mean, the first thing the counsellor said to me is, everything is confidential, but if they think you're going to do anything silly and try and hurt yourself, that's their responsibility to let somebody know. And the other thing is, if you need quite a good relationship with that counsellor. And she said, if you don't feel I am working for you, then you tell me, because we can get you another counsellor. You don't have to stay with me just because I'm the person that's sort of been allocated to you as it was. So, but as it happened, she was lovely and we got on fine. But as I say, it may sometimes be the counsellor, not the counselling. So that's, always worth thinking about. Even if you do have your own specialist counsellor, perhaps someone who's specially trained in post-traumatic stress and all of that. That doesn't mean to say they're the right person for you, that your personalities are going to work out together.
Well, that's what happened. I had a couple of sessions with one, and then I had about 3 sessions with this other one, because the first one didn't feel as though they got enough tools to help me, and it was the same with the second one, because they hadn't experienced or didn't understand the military mentality that
and it's different.
Needed. Yeah, it's a lot different. Yeah.
I mean, it's great to be able to talk to your friends, and that's really, really important to be able to talk to your friends.
Yeah,
But remember, your friends aren't trained counsellors, so they can only give you the benefit of their experience and of
yeah,
knowing you. But that they're it's important to talk, but they're not professionals. That's why sometimes the counselling does help.
yeah,
Plus the fact, if you're having a particularly bad time, you wouldn't want to burden your family and friends with that necessarily, because then they would all get worried. So
yeah,
there's probably things you're not telling people that you maybe should be. I mean, again, this is where the internet's great, because different forums you're on, there will be people to talk to who you're not that close to, who you can be totally truthful with. And
yeah.
although they're not counsellors, they'll understand, what you're
That's
going
it.
through. It's talking, isn't it? It's when you don't talk. It's when you're
Yeah,
not having that communication and expressing yourself. Is where the trouble
yeah.
starts, when you're bottling it all up.
If you're bottling it up, then you're just on a hiding to nowhere, and it will get worse. If you bottle it up, it will get worse.
Well,
The
it's like
best thing
shaking
is to
that
talk about
lemonade
it.
bottle, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really all you can say to people, isn't it? Just please encourage people to speak to somebody,
yeah,
because that certainly made things a lot easier for me at the beginning. And look how quick my doctor was. It literally had to be 4 to 6 weeks. Because
yeah,
of the circumstances, they thought it warranted it being sooner, rather than
yeah,
later. Because we all of us, we're still getting flashbacks, or waking up in our sleep because we've relived the day.
yeah,
But hopefully it's not all of the time, but hopefully over time that will sort of stop. But it's just
yeah.
certain things, isn't it, that
There's little
bring it all back.
triggers. I mean, it sounds very, very much like you've got a mild form of PTSD where you'll relive what happened on the day, and there'll be a little trigger that sets it off, and as long as you understand that that's what it is a little trigger that reminds you of what's gone on, then you can deal with it and cope with it, and put it back where it belongs.
Mm,
And there's nothing you can do to change it. That's the thing. You're
no.
what happened, and it's just how your mental processes deal with it. And providing you can work out that there's nothing you can do about it, it's happened, then you can move on. And I think that's the key, is that ability to move through it, move on. It's happened. There's nothing to do, and life's too short to worry.
I think in the great scheme of things, I think we've all done remarkably well, really.
Yeah,
As a family, not just me, because the girls have got support from their friends as well. We've all got each other. It does make a big, big difference. That support network,
yeah,
around you does make a big difference. But if
it,
you haven't got family, then you need to find that support network externally, don't you? Like, I know you've got various clubs that you have, don't you, for your
yeah.
vet
I
up
was
there.
up one this afternoon, so and I was
Mm,
talking to a guy who's going to do an interview with him. He suffers from an addiction, and it's almost ruined his life. It's almost taken his life. Just working out how we're going to do it, where we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it, and that'll be a
mm.
fantastic story.
Do you know, I have a friend whose husband's alcoholic, and he has been for 30 odd years. And she said, what you don't realise is you're living the life of an alcoholic. So
Yeah,
she's herself had to go to counselling and like an Alcoholics Anonymous group for families, because she's living
yeah,
that life with him. You don't realise that. So if someone's got a problem, probably their family are going to
yeah.
be affected by
In
that as
fact,
well.
I did an interview a little while ago about addictions and living with an alcoholic,
Mm,
from a family perspective, or is it drugs? Yeah. So I've covered that a few times. So if you want to know a bit more about it, go back and have a look at some of the interviews that we've done on everyday conversations regarding mental health. There's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of conversations that we've had that will help people.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, and I know you feel we're sort of sitting on a powder keg of things that are still going to come up from even the Falklands and things. So, yeah, that's hopefully people will recognise that they need help and then go and find it. And not just military people, anybody. There will be somebody out there or some sort of support group. I mean, our church, our local church is quite good. We've had lots of offers to go to their coffee mornings and things. I mean, we haven't done it. I don't feel I need to because, I have got a lot of support. But even the neighbours have been amazing. We always Stephen used to do a really big thing for Halloween, for the kids. Used to get right into it. Well, we didn't feel up to doing it this year, although we just got the sweets. And one of the neighbours come round with a China pumpkin that had a plant in it. She said, "I'd just like to thank you for everything your husband did, like at Halloween and Christmas for the kids. And if you want help next year, we'll come round and help you." And then we all felt really bad. I thought we should do something this year because we felt really bad for not doing it. But and we didn't even know how many of the neighbours he knew. Until it happened, we were getting all these cards from people. Even the co-op, he spent so much time talking around at the co-op. Even they sent a card and flowers. That says a lot, doesn't it? But he
was a lovable character.
Well, my
I've known Harry for 40 odd years.
I know,
we go a long, long, long way back, and we've had a lot of fun over the years. But there you go. So another best mate I lost. They're hard to come by.
I know.
Easy to lose, hard to come by.
Yeah. But you've got those memories, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely.
And there's some crackers. I watched your podcast. I listened to your podcast. Stephen telling all my secrets he wasn't supposed to tell anybody. But actually, that's nice that they're still there because the grandson can listen to them when he's old enough to understand. Well, the ones where he's not getting in too much trouble. I hope you don't want to let him listen to them. Because, I used to say to him, the only time anybody would recognise you, Stephen, is if you had a desk between the two of you, because he was always in trouble, wasn't he? Yeah. I don't think he'd ever make a beefy, unblemished record. I don't think that was going to happen. But, no.
Well, Catherine, thank you so much.
You're more than welcome.
For giving us an update on how you've progressed over the year. And are we going to see you up at Duxford this year?
Yeah, we're going to Duxford. In fact, we've even bought our tickets for next year's summer ball and booked the hotel. In spite of everything, everybody had a good time. We had our moments, but everybody had a good time and wanted to go again. And it won't be quite so difficult this year. Or next year as it was this year.
Yeah, the second one, the second year does get easier.
Well, as I say, I did warn everybody that Stephen's photograph would come up on the screen on the Poachers Remembered thing. So they were all ready for the photograph to come up, but not quite ready for the response that he got when everybody cheered and clapped. So that caught us sort of unawares, really. But we won't have any of that next year, so
no,
that sadly will be other people. But we got
it's
there.
Guaranteed to be other people. We've already lost a few this year.
I know, it's very sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that when you watch the photos come up, it's too many.
Yeah,
too many.
Absolutely. I mean, the latest one is Dave Jordan.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's just come up in the last few days. His funeral's on the 19th, I think, or 17th.
Well, I hadn't heard about Colonel Bayliss, and when they read that out, I was genuinely upset.
Yeah, I was hoping to get down to his funeral, but it was down in Plymouth.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get there on the day, which was a shame, because I'd love to have gone to that one.
Yeah, not too far from you either.
Well, Plymouth's a little bit of an hike, but it's doable in a day from here. Unfortunately, I had something else on and I just couldn't make it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of dropping at this time of the year. The regimental newsletter comes out, or the posts come out fairly regular. Somebody else has gone. However, Duxford is a great one, and the day before Rochford, we've got the regimental rugby, which will be another great day out. So I should be along to that, and then off to Duxford the following day.
I don't know if we're going to the rugby. It depends who's working and who isn't, because they did say they would like to go to that if they're not at work.
Yeah.
So, especially as it's not too far, is it?
No.
Well, not for us.
Not for you anyway.
So,
no. Not too far for us either.
No.
So
no.
we're looking forward
far
to
enough.
it.
Yeah. So that'd be good.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, thank you again for
Thank you
for coming on and giving us an update, and hopefully that will give inspiration to anybody else that is going through what you're going through.
Oh, I hope so.
You want to stick around and have a quick chat?
Okie dokie.
There you go. Well, it's a tough thing to go through, and we'll all go through it sooner or later in our lives, lose somebody that we love, and there is hope of getting through it. There is help out there. This is, it's not the end of everything. Life goes on after loss, and I can vouch for that. So until next week, when we've got the quiz on Tuesday over on the quiz channel, and I'll have another guest on next week. I think next week I'll have 2 guests, so watch out for that one next week. Same time, 7 o'clock British Summer Time, and I'll catch you very soon. So until then, TTFN, ta-ta for now.